Hey guys, and welcome back to another movie review. So today, I meant to do this back when it came out, but now I might be glad that I put it off for all these years, because I feel like my feelings towards it kind of have shifted a little. I've softened towards it. Whereas the first time I watched it, I was just offended that it even existed at all. But we are talking about Arthur. No, not the original Arthur. That still stands as my favorite film of all time. We have spoken about this so many times on this channel, about how much I adore that film and literally every single thing about it. I probably have more memorabilia and more props from that film than any other human. I'm probably about the only person on the planet who cares as much about this fucking movie as I do. But I do. Can I explain it? No. But for whatever reason, that is the one that my brain locked onto as a teenager and never let go of. Yeah. I mean, this is gonna be relevant in a minute. I don't often pull this out to show off, but I even have an autographed script of the third draft of the film, which has an awful lot of things in there that didn't make it into the final film, but that explain so much about the backstory that I really wish more people could get to know about and appreciate. And because I have this knowledge of what all's in here, I was able to recognize it when I watched the remake that, alright, I'll give credit where credit's due. They must have read at least one draft of the original script, because they pulled some details from here. Like, straight up pulled some out of here. I'm gonna set it back over here for now. That's not where it normally lives, but that's beside the point. Now, when this film came out, when the remake came out, rather, since that's the one we're talking about, I was fit to be tied. Hollywood is truly out of ideas. Clearly, they no longer make up new ideas. They just fucking recycle old ones now. If there's nothing wrong with it, don't fix it. That was a perfect and flawless film, in my opinion. What the fuck business did you have remaking it? Why? Just fucking why? And first off, they cast Russell Brand, of all people, as Arthur. Dudley Moore was in the original role, and you could tell there was quite a few things in this film where you could tell he was trying to play it as Dudley, like, basically. And I mean, in a few moments here and there, it kind of works, but in other parts, it's like, God, you are trying way too hard. Calm the fuck down. But, that is actually the least of my issues with it, although I could give you a list of other actors I feel like could have done it better justice. Ricky Gervais, I feel like could have done it better than anybody of just, like, modern actors. Just saying. If you're not that familiar with him, basically, he feels like he could have been a love child of Dudley Moore, even though I know damn well age-wise that doesn't line up, but that's beside the point. That is beside the point. I totally feel like he 100% could have done it. I'm not just saying that because I'm a fan of him, I'm saying it because legitimately, that is largely why I'm a fan of him, because he feels like he could have been an offspring of Dudley, but that's neither here nor there. Like I said, this is the least of my fucking issues with the remake. I took far bigger issue with the fact that they recast Hobson as a woman. Greta Gerwig is Greta Gerwig. Jesus Christ. Helen Mirren. I'm mixing up who's who. Helen Mirren is all fine and dandy. Wonderful actress. I respect her as an actress. Make no mistake. However, Hobson was so flawlessly played in the original that I'm like, why? Why would you do that? But then again, maybe it was just so flawless to where they were like, we can't make lightning strike twice. We have to change it and make it our own, because we're never going to get somebody to play that role as perfectly as he did. And John Gielgud is long since passed on. They can't get him now for it, so basically everyone from the original, except for a couple of people left. They're all gone now, but, yeah, it was an interesting executive decision. Susan, they turned from basically, in the original, she was, like, so meek and timid. She really didn't seem too terribly horrible. She was just bland and kind of just put there as a plot device, whereas in the remake, they made her very calculated and manipulative and straight up fucking evil in this one, which, I mean, makes sense, given that even in the original, her father is straight up fucking evil. Well, now in this one, they both are, which I guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but just, they made Susan so fucking hateable in this one, which is really weird, seeing Jennifer Garner in such a hateable role, but it is what it is, and it's so weird seeing her be so aggressive and shit. It's like, oh, it's kind of off-putting, which I suppose is the point, because you're not supposed to like Susan. Nobody's supposed to be rooting for Susan. We're supposed to be rooting for Linda. Oh, what's that? There is no Linda in this. There's no fucking Linda. There's a Naomi. I don't know if maybe Liza pitched a fucking fit over, oh yeah, no, you are not rebooting my character, fuck you, that role is mine, you cannot have Linda Marola. I don't know what happened there, but literally the only person with a different name in the whole film is Naomi. All the others, totally the same across the board. Yup, it be like that. Instead of being a waitress from Queens, now she's an illegal tour guide from Queens. Who, instead of being an aspiring actress, is an aspiring children's book author. Got a bit of a downgrade, just saying, just saying. I mean, I guess they're trying to make her more relatable, but no! White... Going to take a deep cleansing breath. Like I said, my feelings have actually softened towards this film compared to how I originally felt about it when it was first released. And I'm still this pissed, and yet this is softer. This is why I didn't make a review of it back when it came out, because I'm pretty sure I would have just, like, had a stroke on camera and died because I got so mad. But, so, Naomi's father in this, similarly, is not the basically caricature that he was in the original, although I thought the original, he was fucking hilarious. But still, back to Hobson, the original, even I can admit, Hobson makes the damn movie, okay? That movie would not be the same without him. I suppose you could say similar here, too, that they still made Hobson the cornerstone of the whole thing. They did do the one thing. They changed Bitterman from a black guy to a Mexican guy, and the only reason that I can surmise why they would have made such an executive decision would be, oh, we can't have a black guy serving a white guy because people would cry slavery. Therefore, apparently it's okay if it's a Mexican guy doing the same thing. I don't fucking know, it just came off as really weird. It was like, maybe it'd have been better off just casting a white guy doing it, so nobody can complain racism, but I don't know, man, I don't know, but then they claim, oh, not enough inclusion, so maybe they had to have somebody, it's weird, it's weird. In a similar tweak on the original, they flipped it with the parents. Now, Arthur's father is the one who's dead. The mother is alive and is basically a cold hard bitch who he has no emotional connection to, only Hobson. Yeah, now it's the mother, who they did take a very, very, very subtle detail that was mentioned once, not even in the original, in the sequel. They got that detail of her first name out of the sequel from the one and only time it was ever mentioned. And they ran with it. But now it's the father who's dead. Now, according to the original script that I have, Arthur's mother was killed when he was very young, and that is why he drinks. They changed the details of how the death occurred in this, to where now his father died just spontaneously. He was only in his 40s, lived a clean lifestyle, healthy, didn't do anything wrong, just dropped dead one day. So his whole MO on life was, what's the point of being healthy and taking care of yourself if you could just die anyway? May as well have fun. And that's what he'd been doing ever since his father died. I mean, makes sense, but it doesn't make it right. But I mean, makes sense. But yeah, whereas in the original script it was the mother, he had been sent away to boarding school, and literally the day he was sent away to boarding school, the mother was killed in a car accident. And it was that day that he began drinking as, like, a 7-year-old child. Whereas in this, there's enough backstory included in the details that actually made it into the film. I believe he was 3 when the dad died, so they changed a few minor details. Again, nobody but me gives a shit about any of this, but yeah. And it's weird because certain things they kept down to the letter, because there are certain lines I could recite perfectly along with because they didn't change them one iota from the original film. It took a while to start hitting those lines, but once they started doing them, it's like they leaned into them real hard and just kept it. Whereas others, they completely changed it. And in some of those instances, may have been for the better. In others, it's like, oh, that's a downgrade. But they really played up the whole man-child thing. I mean, it, like, opens with Arthur, like, dressing up as Batman, and in his tool belt, or his utility belt, I guess. I'm not a comic book person. He's got just bottles of booze that are in it. And, like, a harmonica. I think, like, one other really random thing. I forget. And he has the actual fucking Batmobile. Yeah. Instead of his beloved Rolls Royce, he prefers the Batmobile in this. Yeah. The original, I mean, even for as much of a man-child as Arthur was, he was still charming about it, whereas in this one it's just like, my eyes are rolling back so far in my head, they may as well turn inside out. But, somehow I missed it the first time around. It's not the only movie car he has. He apparently also has the DeLorean. He has the fucking DeLorean, which could not have been a thing in the original, because the original was made in 81, Back to the Future was 1985, just throwing that out there. But, yeah, that. I don't think I could have seen Dudley Moore in a DeLorean, although ironically, maybe this was a nod to it. Dudley Moore was up for the role of Doc Brown. Fun fact. You're welcome. I too am glad that he wasn't picked for that role because, A, Doc would have been shorter than Marty, which is a pretty low benchmark to hit, but, and B, no, that shit would not have worked, so, yeah, interesting stuff. But anyway, yeah, it's an interesting little nod. Both are Warner Brothers films, so I guess there is that, but, anywho, yeah, there's lots of things like that through the whole thing where it's just like, oh my god. They really, like, play up the level of excess. And then there's other things where it's like, you can tell they're trying to make lightning strike twice. Like in the original, the bathtub scene is a fucking cinematic classic. They tried to recreate it here. It was okay. Nothing to write home about. Totally forgettable. But, yeah, that. But I found it more interesting that they took elements from both the first movie and the sequel and kind of wove them into a single film here. Obviously not all of them, but specifically the Arthur getting sober and trying to find employment. That was all from the second movie. So, if you never saw the second movie, that's stuff that happens in the second movie. Spoilers, sorry. But, they wove them in here. And it went about as well as it did in that second movie. For the employment anyway, except instead of a hardware store, it was a candy store this time, which is fun. And honestly, I totally could have seen Dudley Moore's Arthur doing that too, but, that was well played, actually. Not gonna lie, that was well played. And done pretty accurately, I think, to the role, but, and to the character. But I found this one focuses a lot more on the emotional aspects of Arthur, and a lot more on the entrapment of his character in the position that he's in. Whereas in the first one, I mean, yeah, technically he's still entrapped, but it doesn't feel as menacing somehow. Maybe because we don't have Nick Nolte as the fucking dad literally, like, shoving Arthur's tongue towards a rotating saw blade, but yeah, that's an image I'll probably never get out of my mind ever again. That'll haunt my nightmares, but yeah, that, it's just strange. And yet there's other things where you can tell it's a nod to the original. Like, I'd have to fact check this, but I want to say, I think they used the same church for the wedding scene. Not positive. Don't quote me on that in case I'm wrong. But just based on the setting, I want to say that might be the same church, actually. In which case, if it is, good job, well played. You did your homework. But yeah, other things, like, instead of the charming first date in the original film, Arthur clears out Grand Central Station for Naomi. That name still just feels foreign to my tongue in respect to this film, but God. With acrobats and rose petals and Pez dispensers and yeah, it's definitely its own entity, apart from the original. I'll give it that. And they definitely try to give more character development. But I feel like the thorn in my side here is like a very unpopular opinion, and probably something that some people like it better for, whereas I'm like, oh, fuck you, there was nothing wrong with the original. But it seemed like every man who was in a position of power of any kind in the original, they had to take down and just either replace with women or make the women roles that were already existing more powerful than they were. They totally got rid of the grandma altogether, which makes me really sad. I loved the grandma in the original. They made his mother kind of fit the role for both parts in this one, eliminating the need for the grandmother, which was odd. Don't know why they did that, but they did that. But yeah, like, most of the male roles that were big roles in it were either replaced by women, or if they were already women, they had to, like, make them more powerful and make the men who were still in the film less powerful. Definitely some feminist agenda bullshit, and I'm like, why? We don't have to do this to every single film. We don't. You want to do it to some films, fine. You don't need to do it in every single film. Not all men are bad. Just saying. Just saying. Like, why do we have to do this to everything? This is part of why I dislike modern films, because this happens every time now, it seems like. I'm like, oh, will you stop? Don't get me started on female Ghostbusters. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. I wasn't even a huge fan of the original on that one, and that one still pissed me off, but I digress. So, anyways, that's a movie car they should have had in this. They didn't have the Ghostbuster mobile. I'm sure it has a name. Does it have a name? The Ghostbuster car. There, I don't know, but whatever it's called, they should have had. I've only seen it once ever, even though I'm an 80s baby. I should have my 80s baby card revoked, but anyways, yeah, that, oh, God, there's just a lot to unpack with it, but I will also be the first to admit that upon rewatching it, it feels like the emotional scenes that are in this one hit harder. Especially Hobson's decline with her health and inevitable death. Gonna be honest, I cried a lot harder on this one. I'm like, what the fuck? They're not supposed to be crying at Arthur. Fuck you. Fuck you. Even though Hobson's death in the original, it makes me cry too, but Only for like a minute, whereas this one's like, oh, you dragged it out, you evil fuckers, why'd you do that to me? Fuck. Whereas the first time around when I watched, I was just so mad at it existing I couldn't cry. This time, I tried to be more open-minded, and yeah, I cried a lot more on this one, but anyways. But yeah, I don't know. I have very mixed, very complex, and very conflicted feelings about this remake even being a thing. And I've been asked about it so many times ever since it came out, because people know just how much the original means to me. But yeah, I don't know. If you had asked me years ago what I would have rated this, I would have said, is there anything lower than a 0? Because let's go with that. But now I'm like, no, that doesn't feel correct. That doesn't feel fair. I'm trying to be fair in how I rate things and not let my feelings get in the way. I would say this is maybe a solid 3. They gave it a good effort. They did give it a good effort. And there was a lot of nods to the original. It's not like they didn't do their homework. It's just that they deconstructed so many things of the original that made me love the original and made them their own, which I suppose in doing a remake, yeah, to some degree you kind of have to do that, because otherwise you end up with some shit like the Lion King remake, where it's basically just a shot-by-shot reenactment of the entire thing. I still have to review that one of these days, too, but, yeah, that. And I fucking love The Lion King, but that remake, ouch. Anyway, yeah, like I said, a solid effort was made. I very personally disagree with some of a lot of the changes that they made to it. But I mean, I can see what they were trying to do. I can see what they were going for. I see the vision they had for it. And it was a very high bar to try to hit that. And they were doomed to fail. And I mean, the fact that, you know, it didn't fail harder than it did is kind of shocking. But I'll tell you this, though, that movie came out, and it was very confusing for a little while, and then people just stopped talking about it and basically forgot it happened. Very quickly. So, unlike the original, it does not have the staying power that the original did. Which, you know, standing the test of time is really the measure of a film, I think. So, yeah, I feel like it failed on that regard, whereas the original very much did not fail. But I am forever going to be salty about the fact that because of this remake's existence, now when I tell people that Arthur is my favorite movie, I have to specify that I mean the 1981 version and not the one from the 2000s. So I'm never gonna stop being salty over that. Sorry. I'm sure there's other people who disagree with me, and that's fine. We can totally agree to disagree here. We're allowed to have differing opinions, alright? So, if the remake is, like, your favorite movie of all time, that's okay. I question your judgment, but, I mean, that's okay. You're totally allowed to feel that way, just like I'm allowed to feel my way about the original, so... Anyways... Yeah, we finally did the thing! I finally reviewed it. After, 10 years? I think it came out in 2011? I have to double check that year, but, yeah, it took me only a decade to get around to it, and of you guys poking me with a stick to do it, but I finally did it. Now can we stop talking about this fucking movie outside of this video? Because in the comments, obviously, we can have a discussion about it, but after this, we don't need to talk about this remake anymore, okay? Okay. Anyway, guys, that's it for this one. So as usual, you know what to do. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you're not already and you'd like to be, click subscribe. Hit that notification bell icon so you never miss an upload. Leave comments down below. Make sure you're following my social media accounts, my Facebook fan page, my Twitter, my Instagram, everything and more. It's all down below. And if you like what I do here on this channel and you'd like to help support it, the donation link, as always, is down in the description. Anyway, guys, till next time, bye-bye.